Buddy, I hope that you are well and that you are having a good day so far. Today we'll be doing our grade 8 English lesson on sentences, fragments, and run-ons. And before we start, we're going to log on to aplusstudents.ca, going to log on with our username as well as our password. Once you've logged on with our username as well as our password, then we're going to scroll down up until we get to the chapter of in sentences, fragments, and run-ons. And this is also the subject of language arts, grade 8. All right. So our chapter is sentences, fragments, and run-ons. Our subject is English language arts, grade 8. And the lessons that we are going to be focusing on under the chapter of sentences, fragments, and run-ons, it is a complete sentence or is it a complete sentence or fragment? Is it a complete sentence or a run-on? And is it a complete sentence, a fragment, or a run-on? All right, so a sentence, right? A sentence is a group of words that forms a complete thought. So a sentence is a group of words that basically completes a thought or that forms a complete thought. And when it comes to a sentence, and a sentence has both a subject as well as a verb. A subject which tells us who or what is doing the action, as well as a verb which is the action that is being done within that sentence. And if we look at an example of a sentence, right? My friend walked along the path. So basically, the subject is my friend, and the verb is walk, or you can say walk along the path, right? So, which means that this expresses a complete thought. It has both a subject, it has both a subject that tells us who or what we are talking about, as well as a verb, which is the action that is being done within that sentence. And then we have a fragment, right? And a sentence fragment, it's a group of words that does not express a complete thought. And a fragment, it either it's missing a subject, or it's missing a verb, or it's missing a helping verb. But something is missing within that sentence, which means that it does not express a complete thought at all. And if we look at a few examples of fragments, then it says knows the answer. So this sentence that says knows the answer, right? So now the question is, you need to ask yourself, who knows the answer, right? So which means that this one is missing a subject, right? It is missing a subject because we need to at least say who or what knows the answer. And then if we look at the another example, then it says the red car, the bright red car. So the bright red car. So now we're asking ourselves, what is the bright red car doing? Right? Which means that we are missing a verb. So there's no verb because it's not telling us what the bright red car is doing. And that is a sentence fragment, right? And it is missing a verb. We skiing next week. So we skiing next week, right? So we cannot just say we skiing. It needs to be we are skiing, maybe, right? Which means that we are missing a helping verb over here. So a helping verb is missing. So you either need to say we are skiing, right? Because we can't just say we skiing. That is not, the sentence doesn't sound right. So it's we are skiing or we are skiing. And this is a sentence fragment because it is missing a verb. So basically, a sentence is a group of words that forms a complete thought. That is a sentence, right? And a sentence has both a subject as well as a verb. And then we have a sentence fragment. And a sentence fragment, it is a group of words that does not express a complete thought. And a sentence fragment, it is usually missing either a subject, or it's missing a verb, or it's missing a helping verb. And we made a few examples of sentence fragments where it's either just missing a subject, missing a verb, or missing a helping verb. And it does not express a complete thought. It doesn't show a complete thought. It is not a complete thought. Then we have run-on words, right? So we said that we have a our chapters. Our chapter is sentences, fragments, which we went over, as well as run-on words. So we're now going to find out what run-on words are. And a run-on word, right, or a run-on sentence. A run-on sentence, it is made up of two independent clauses that is joined without an end punctuation or with just a comma. And remember, an end punctuation is either a period or it's a question mark, depending, right, or an exclamation mark, depending on the type of sentence. So a run-on sentence, it is made up of two independent clauses that are joined without an end punctuation or just with a comma, right? It's where it's supposed to have just been, you were just supposed to have written a period, but you went on and on and on. So now the sentences are just, it's just flowing. But it's two independent clauses that can basically stand on its own. And an example of a run-on sentence, it says, I knocked on the door. It opened, which means that over here it doesn't even have any end punctuation. It doesn't even have a comma, right? But this is basically two independent clauses that can stand on its own, but it's joined without an end punctuation at all. Then we have, it started raining, we ran outside. And here we have a comma that separates these two independent clauses. And we are now going to we're also going to find out how we can separate these two independent clauses, basically by letting it stand on its own. And in order for us to fix a run-on sentence, right? So we are going to fix a run-on sentence by writing it properly, letting those independent clauses stand on its own. So a run-on sentence, in order for us to fix it, we need to separate the two sentences. And then we need to add the end punctuation after that sentence, and then we capitalize the sentence or the second sentence. And if we separate those two sentences, right, then it says, I knocked on the door. That is our one sentence. It opened, and that is our second sentence. And if we were to identify, let's see, if it now expresses a complete thought, then I is our subjects, or it is our subject, knocked is our verb, opened is our verb. So which means that these two sentences now that is separated, it basically expresses a complete thought. It has a subject as well as a verb. It started raining. Period. We ran inside. End point or period. Right? So now these two sentences can stand on its own, and now it expresses a complete thought, right? And also when we fix a run-on sentence, especially when we're separating the two independent clauses, right? We can fix a run-on sentence by rewriting it as a compound sentence. And how do we do that? We rewrite it as a compound sentence by basically adding a conjunction. So a compound sentence is made up of two independent clauses that is joined by a coordinating conjunction. And a coordinating conjunction, it is words such as and, but, or so. So you can then separate the two independent clauses, right? But basically we can just write it as a compound sentence. So we will still have both of the independent clauses in one sentence, but it will be joined by a coordinating conjunction. Either and, or, so, or but will be used to basically join those two words, those two sentences, independent clauses. For example, I knocked on the door and it opened. And here we have our coordinating conjunction, which is the comma followed by its and. It started raining, so we ran inside. And then we also have a coordinating conjunction, which means that these two sentences are now written as a compound sentence. All right. So basically, we went over sentences, we went over fragment, and we went over a run on. And we said a sentence, right? It's a group of words that expresses a complete thought. A sentence as both a subject as well as a verb. Then we have a fragment, right? A sentence fragment. And a fragment does not express a complete thought, right? So sentence fragment, it doesn't complete a thought or doesn't have a complete thought. It's either missing a subject or it's missing a verb, or it can even, we can it misses or it can be missing of a helping verb, or helping verb can be missing. And then lastly, we have a run-on sentence, right? And we said a run-on sentence is made up of two independent clauses that are joined without an end punctuation, or it is just joined by a comma. And then there are different ways in which we can fix a run-on sentence, right? And we can fix a run-on sentence by either separating the two sentences, then we add the end punctuation after the first sentence and capitalize the second sentence. Or we can fix a run on sentence by rewriting it as a compound sentence. And a compound sentence is made up of two independent clauses that is joined by a comma as well as a coordinating conjunction such as and, but, or so. Yeah. All right. So we say that we are doing our tutorial lesson on aplusstudents.ca. So now we're going to our tutorial. And our chapter is sentences, fragments, and run-ons. And the first lesson that we are focusing on is it a sentence or a fragment? So we already went over the explanation of what a sentence is and what a fragment is, right? Now we're going to our test. Which is a sentence fragment? We need to select a sentence fragment, right? And we say the sentence fragment does not express a complete thought. It's either missing a subject, a verb, or a helping verb. The first option is news reports alerted everyone in the area to the approaching tornado, or wiped the sweat from her brow after sprinting across the finish line. So we need to select a sentence fragment. Which one do you think is a sentence fragment? The first option or the second option? All right, and if we were to select a sentence fragment, right? Remember we said a sentence fragment does not express a complete thought, then we'll choose the second option. Because it says wiped the sweat from her brow after sprinting across the finish line. So the question is who wiped the sweat from her brow? So the second option is correct. We need to say which is a complete sentence. Electric eels stun prey with an intense electrical charge, or Pamela fulfilling her dream of hiking to the top of Mount St. Helens. So electric eels stun prey with an intense electrical charge, or Pamela fulfilling her dream of hiking to the top of Mount St. Helens. All right. And if we, oh, we need to select a complete sentence. So the first one is correct. It expresses a complete thought. We need to select a complete sentence once again. It says in August 2012, the Curiosity rover landed on Mars, or my parents' business flourishing thanks to online advertisement. So we need to select the correct option, the correct answer. All right, and if we select a complete sentence, it says in 2012, the Curiosity rover landed on Mars. That is a complete sentence or complete thought. Which is a complete sentence? It says at dawn, the sailors hoisted the cargo onto the ship, or the undercover agent still investigating that strange case. So at dawn, the sailors hoisted the cargo onto the ship, the undercover agent still investigating that strange case. All right, so which is a complete thought? So we can say at dawn, the sailors hoisted the cargo onto the ship. So that is a complete sentence. All right. Aesop's, we need to select a sentence fragment, right? It says Aesop's fables present. Aesop's fables present important life lessons, often in a humorous way, or Irene already leaving to catch the plane for her week-long cruise to Porto Vallata. So Aesop's fables present important life lessons, often in a humorous way, or Irene already leaving to catch a plane for a week-long cruise to Puerto Vallarta. Let's look at that one. Sounds like it's missing something there. We need to say which is a sentence fragment. Are dry after such a severe drought, or at higher altitudes, water boils at a lower temperature. So, are dry after such severe drought, or at high altitudes, water boils at a lower temperature. And if we were to select the fragment, we would say, are dry after such a severe drought. Definitely missing a lot of things. All right, so now we are going to say, is it a complete sentence or is it a run on sentence? And remember, we said a sentence expresses a complete thought and it has both a verb as well as a subject. And then a run on sentence, right? It has it is made up of two independent clauses that are joined without in punctuations or with just a comma. And there are many ways in which we can fix a run on sentence. We can fix it by either separating it into two sentences, then we add the end punctuation after the first sentence and then capitalize the second sentence, or we can fix the run on sentence by rewriting it as a compound sentence. And a compound sentence, it's made up of two independent clauses that is joined by a comma, as well as a coordinating conjunction such as and, but, or so. So we can fix it by either doing one of those options. All right. So now we're going to our test, where we are going to say if it's a complete sentence or if it's a run on. So now, which is a run on sentence? It says Cassie is an adept skier. She has trained for many years. Or red green color blindness affects far more men than women. All right, so we need to say if it's a run on sentence or which one is. And we can say Cassie is an adept skier. She has trained for many years. There's no comma, no end point. We need to select a complete sentence, right? It says a leap year typically occurs every 4 years. And let's spruce up this room. New drapes would be an improvement. So we need to select or say which one is a complete sentence. And we can say a leap year typically occurs every 4 years. And we are currently, this year, we have a leap year. Actually, today, which is the 29th of February. Right. Which is a complete sentence? Multiplying fractions and decimals isn't hard. I can show you how. Or the suspect forfeited his right to a trial by jury. All right, so if we select a complete sentence, it says multiplying fractions and decimals isn't hard. I can show you how. Or the suspect forfeited his right to a trial by jury. Let's choose the second one. All right, so the second one is correct. We need to say which one is a complete sentence, right? And remember, complete sentence, it has both subject as well as a verb, right? It expresses a complete thought. That is a sentence. It says, this macaroni dish tastes rather bland. Pass the salt, please. Or it says, lesions flourish in some of the most extreme environments on earth. So this macaroni dish tastes rather bland. Pass the salt, please. So we need to select a complete sentence. So we can say, lesions flourish in some of the most extreme environments on earth. Is it legions or lesions? Lesions. Which is a complete sentence? We'll varnish these old oak floors. They need to be sanded first. Or do we say the windows in the kitchen vibrated yesterday's mild earthquake? So the windows in the kitchen vibrated during yesterday's mild earthquake. We need to select the complete sentence. All right, then we can say the windows in the kitchen vibrated during yesterday's mild earthquake. That is a complete sentence. Don't trespass on his land, he may call the police. Or hail pelted the roof during the storm last night. All right, so it says either don't trespass on his land, he may call the police, or hail pelted the roof during the storm last night. Let's choose the second option. All right. Now we're going to say, is it a complete sentence? Is it a fragment? Is it a run on. We're going to choose one of the three types of sentences. Is it either a sentence, is it a fragment, or if it's a run on? Okay, it's not types of sentences, but one of the three options, right? And we said a sentence is a group of words that forms a complete thought, and it has both a subject and a sentence has a verb. And then we said a sentence fragment is a group of words that does not express a complete thought and has it's usually missing a subject, a verb, or it is missing a helping verb. And then we mentioned a run-on sentence, which is made up of two independent clauses that are joined without in punctuation or with just a comma. All right, so now let's go to our test because we already went over sentences, a fragment, as well as a run-on. We need to say which one is a sentence fragment. A fragment doesn't express a complete thought. It's either missing a verb or a subject. Sentence. It says, we'll varnish these old oak floors. They need to be sanded first, or sometimes feels nervous and uncomfortable when speaking in front of a large group. So we said that we'll varnish these old oak floors. They need to be sanded first, or we can say sometimes feels nervous and uncomfortable when speaking in front of large crowds. So there's no subject there. Then we need to express or write a complete sentence. Alec tinted his hair blue. The dye lasts for a week. So Alex tinted his hair blue. The dye lasted for a week. So we need to select a complete sentence, which is Alec tinted his hair blue. The dye lasts for a week. Or for the A major chord, a guitar player places the first, second, and third finger at the second fret. All right, so that is a complete sentence, right? We need to say which one is a run-on sentence. We wrecked up the mountain with the third-pound packs on our backs, or my shirt shrank in the hot water. I should have read the label first. A run-on sentence. All right, so we need to say which one is a run-on sentence. It says, we trekked up the mountain with a 30-pound packs on our back. I think I said this one was a run-on sentence. Yeah, that is correct. Okay, we usually research things on the internet. We have packed our encyclopedias and dictionaries away in the attic, or the windows in the kitchen vibrated during yesterday's mild earthquake. Ah, oh, I didn't even see that. A run on sentence. I'm thinking it's a complete thought, a complete sentence. Now, a complete sentence. It says Mike and Layla both handle themselves well under pressure, or sugar snap peas grow quickly. Use wood sticks and twine to support the vines. So we need to say which one is the correct one. A complete sentence, then we can say Mike and Layla, they both handle themselves well under pressure. All right. Which is a complete thought. And remember, complete thought, a complete sentence has a subject and it has a verb, right? It expresses a complete thought. And it says at higher altitude, water boils at a lower temperature, has developed resistance to the drug prescribed by the doctors. So we will choose the first option because the second one seems like there's something missing. All right. All right, so that is the end of our lesson on sentences, fragments, and run-ons. We see the sentence, it expresses a complete thought. It has both a subject as well as a verb. Then a sentence fragment, right? It does not express a complete thought. It's either missing a subject, a verb, or a helping verb. Then we have a run-on sentence, right? In a run-on sentence, it is made up of two independent clauses that is got either no endpoint or it is just basically joined by a comma, right? And we can fix a run-on sentence by separating the two independent clauses and ending out and adding our endpoint. Or we can fix a run-on sentence by, for example, rewriting that sentence into a compound sentence. And then a compound sentence, it is made up of two independent clauses or two sentences that is joined by a coordinating conjunction such as and, but, or so. All right. So that is now the end of our lesson on sentences, fragments, and run-ons. Thank you very much for joining the class. Should have a good evening further. Goodbye.